players give their all, to be part of that particular team. So, I mean, picking players, if you say you want to actually start to open the camp at this point, it's going to actually disrupt what we have already. It's going to actually destroy the idea of the team. In fact, it's going to actually, put you back to ground zero. And that's not what any team who wants to win the tournament needs, because everything that wants to win the tournament, at first, you need, a cohesion. And you cannot get a cohesion over a month. It never happened in football. So going into this particular tournament, these guys have been playing, the likes of Alimi, Savio and co, they've been playing for a long time together. So you need a player or two to just, blood in and then, get the team better going to the tournament. And at the end of the day, you might not even pick a player, but then these guys can always be on the standby list if something happens in that particular tournament. So that's exactly what this particular players that will be sorted from this particular game will be up for.
All right, it is what it is. Okay, hopefully Maiwa gets to join us as he's still looking for players for Maiwa. Okay, I heard you're in. I hope that you've been talking to Ineos and Ratliff as well as Ruben Amorim, holding meetings on who you want to sign. At least you can go to the Chan, to the Federation Cup Finance, scout some players for Ruben Amorim.
Well, the thing is this: if we have good enough players to do the job, why not? We should not rely on the top stars. This is the time for us to get creative. The bottom line is this: Manchester United at the moment is not attractive enough to attract big names, except those who are just, who just wants to play for, the history of that particular club. But at the moment, we don't have the clout to drag in biggest of the biggest. So, I mean, Ineos and the rest of them, they need to be creative to get players that can probably get us back to where we were before next season. But it's going to be a very, very difficult and very long, summer. A whole lot of stars will turn Manchester United down. No Champions League. The prospect in terms of doing well next season is not that bright at the moment. So that will scare a whole lot of players here. But in any case, let's see how it goes. It's a good Thursday to talk football. Thank you for having me, Jerry.
All right. They say there's reward in honesty. I think Maiwa should be getting that reward time without number. Not those who are still deceiving Manchester United, calling them king of comebacks, how they are going to win the league next season from behind. Maybe. Anyway, you can win the league from 20 position. Yeah, and go and play in the championship. That will be your trophy. I can't wait to see that happen. Well, it is what it is. Let's talk about Victor Osimhen. He's in the news for the right and wrong reasons. I would have loved to talk about what another agent said about Victor Osimhen, and somebody who's been following the transfer window for so many years in Europe. But we'll get to that, because yesterday we spoke about an agent who said something about Victor Osimhen. But today is the fact that Juventus coach Igor Tudor sees Victor Osimhen as the ideal striker for his team. The Nigerian goal-getter recently returned to Napoli after a long spell at Galatasaray after a disagreement with the Partenopi last year. And the future of the former Sporting Charleroi player is uncertain. Osimhen has a buyout clause of 75 million euros in his contract. Ikechukwu, how do you see Victor Osimhen playing for Juventus?
He's been in Italy before.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be a different terrain for him. He's conquered Italy before. I think that's the right word.
Okay.
So going back to Italy and going to, the most successful side in Serie A says a lot about, him at this point. In the last 15 years, Juventus has been, the king, in that particular league. So coming into that particular team at this point, Juventus is very much in the rebuilding phase at this point, right? And so I think Victor Osimhen is really going to actually do well. I mean, Juventus is a step higher than, way higher than Galatasaray. I mean, his prospects of going back to the Champions League is very much, higher there at Juve. And I think it's going to be a fresh start for him. But then I don't know if he's going to be able to handle the pressure, There are certain ways the Italian fans actually behave. More like, the Liverpool fans. They are very much hot-headed. And sometimes it can actually, for a player like Victor Osimhen, who is also hot-headed, it can actually, cause him a lot of problem. But then I think if he can actually get someone to actually really manage his temperament, I think he's really going to succeed, there in Juve. But then it's also all about, the project that Juventus will have for him, bringing him in. It's not just bringing Victor Osimhen. I mean, back in the days, we used to have top players playing for Juventus, but these days, they are even unable to actually keep their best leg. So it says a lot about the project going on in Italy and of course, in Juventus at this point. So it's for him to actually really sit down and look at the project, not just about, the name of the club and the history behind the club.
All right, it is what it is. Maiwa, how do you see Victor Osimhen playing for Juventus next season?
Well, I think, to be honest with you, like Kechuku said, he has been in Italy before. He has conquered Italy. Juventus is a step to Napoli. However, for a lack of better word, Juventus is the new Manchester United at the moment. They are plagued with inconsistency. They've been rotating managers. They've been changing managers like someone changing clothes. And the result has not been there. Oh, we can say something that's very, very important. What is the project, Juventus are trying to build? Because the current Juventus team, at least they will need about 5-6 key signings for Osimhen to be able to flourish in that particular team. I don't want a situation whereby Osimhen will be thrown into that team that is plagued with inconsistency and he will be frustrated. Also, there's also another important thing that Ikechukwu mentioned, which is very, very important. This is an avenue for Victor Osimhen to launder his own image. This is an avenue for him to retrace his PR step. I hope, his second stint in Italy Carmet will prevail. That's number one. Number two, he should get a proper PR team to manage his affairs. You cannot have a player that everybody is tagging hot-headed, and continue down that path. It will not end well. And Juventus will have a kind of perception about him. If the deal for Juventus goes through, I think it would be a good way for him to be able to rebrand himself and come out much more better.
All right, it is what it is. Going back to Italy to play for Juventus, and that's if they are able to cough out 60 to 70 million euros for him. And that's going to be a big issue. And of course, there's also the issues that have to do with his wages. The Italian Serie A, if my memory is right, don't really pay players that much. And I think Osimhen is one of the highest earning players. If you want to take a look at talking about the weekly wages of the players out there in the Italian Serie A, is Juventus going to be able to pay that much?
Okay, so the thing is, the Italian Serie A don't pay that much in recent times. Back in the era where they have the likes of Paolo Maldini, Kaká, Rio Costa, and co, they were arguably the highest paying, league in Europe in terms of, weekly pay, right? They have superstars at that point in their league. So the quality of players they have now is actually a reflection of their wage bill, right? So England also have, top players, and that's why you see huge wage bills. In Spain also, you see the top players earning huge amount of money. So it's just like that. If you don't, these top players come with this certain level of demand. Victor Osimhen is actually a top player, and that's why his wage bill has always been a problem across Europe, even in Italy. Now the issue about him being paid, I think for now Victor Osimhen should actually just take his eyes off money, because money is actually the least of his problem right now. It's actually his image first, and he needs to actually really settle him in himself. And so far so good. The only place he has been able to do that is actually in Juventus, and it's actually in Galatasaray. So, and Galatasaray is way below his level at this point. So he needs to find a way to actually strike a balance. We've seen top players actually cut deals, take pay cuts to actually make move. Fabregas took, I think, about £4 million move, a pay cut to actually join Barcelona at the point. A lot of players have done it, right? Even at the peak of their career. Victor Osimhen is no exception. He should not start seeing himself as an outlier. Players do these things. It's all about understanding your situation. I think he's yet to fully understand, the problem he's in. He still perhaps thinks, he's playing is one backyard football somewhere in Ojota where, people just say certain things about you. It doesn't really matter. You have the talent. It's way beyond that, because now you are a brand. Club side are not just cutting you because of your footballing talent. They're also cutting you because of the image and what, you attract to the club that you are joining. I mean, we know the amount of money Barcelona lost when Lionel Messi, left, because a lot of brands that want to associate with Barcelona at that point would, have look at this team and say, no, they don't really have a superstar. All of these are the other side of football that many of these players do not really understand. And that's why a proper, PRO team and people who really, will manage your affair outside football needs to actually, come in place for him at this point. He needs that really, really quick, because, I mean, if he fails to actually get a major deal this particular window, then of course he can start kissing his, career goodbye. Perhaps he just decides to go to Saudi Arabia at the end of the day.
All right, Marwa, it looks like Juventus is not the only club interested in Victor Osimhen. We understand that Galatasaray saying that time is running out for Victor Osimhen to make up his mind to stay at the club side, because they're willing to keep him after his loan spell last season. Of course, we know that Napoli has already ordered that he returns back to the club side. Meanwhile, Al Hilal and several Premier League clubs are also on the lookout. But taking a look at all the options on the table, where would you advise Victor Osimhen to engage his attention as far as making his next move is concerned?
Well, if the news about Liverpool is anything to go by, I think I would advise Osimhen to make the move to ensure that he joins the Liverpool side. The reason for that is this: if you look at all the clubs that has interest in him, I think Liverpool has shown so far that they have a lot of ambition in terms of competing next season. And if he goes to a Liverpool side, it's going to be a plus for him. It's also going to be a plus to his career. Staying back at Galatasaray, he's just more like a university graduate going to kindergarten. Obviously, he will always be number one now. He will always be number one, because I mean that is how Victor Osimhen is to the Turkish league. And no disrespect to the Turkish league, I think he's above the Turkish league. The kind of what he has displayed, the kind of talent, he should be grateful that he was able to play football there 7 months. However, he's bigger than that club. Saudi Arabia is a no-no. If he wants to achieve anything major, Saudi Arabia is a no-no. And all these mid-table English club, they might want to have interest in him. I think that should be a no. I think his key focus should be with Juventus. I think that's a bigger club in Europe. And probably a Liverpool. Even if it will take a pay cut, just like Fabregas did when he wanted to move to Barcelona in search of trophy. Fabregas wanted to go and get the Champions League. He had to go for a pay cut to go to Barcelona for that. So if that would be the case, then I would advise Osimhen to probably take a pay cut and probably go to the likes of Liverpool. That will give him much more visibility, and it will give him an opportunity to be able to rebrand himself to be a much more valuable player to other clubs.
All right, because Galatasaray Vice President talking about Abdullah Kabuku said at the press conference they expect Osimhen to make a decision as soon as possible. He said Galatasaray has spoken to Napoli on the striker's transfer and have respected Osimhen's plea to be given more time to decide. Definitely, it's a very difficult position to find yourself as a player. I think Victor Osimhen's situation is really not to the envy of anybody, because he's in a fix. Yeah, and maybe due to his own handwork and the fact that he didn't make the decisions at the right time. I want to look at situations where players have made very difficult decisions that put them in a difficult position. I want to put one of those players as Harry Kane. In 2018, they got to the final. That was the best time for him to start looking for a club side that was going to win him trophies. But he decided to renew his contract. And that delayed his winning the trophy situation, and now he's in his 30s. But we cannot say that with Victor Osimhen. He has already won trophies already. Now he needs to establish himself. He needs one more goal at a very top club side, so that it will not look like, yeah, he was a great striker, but which clubs did he play for? He played for Napoli, played for Galatasaray, and later went to maybe Al Hilal, or so on and so forth. So everybody's looking for that big break for him. Everybody wishes him well, but he's in a very, very tight spot at the moment.
Yeah, true, very tight spot. I think the very first day we started Osimhen's conversation, because it seems like his conversation keeps coming up from different angles. The very first conversation, I said it here that Osimhen's case is going to be for academic purpose. people who are actually playing football will actually see and learn. Now, football is not just what happens on the field. A good number of what translates to success in football happens behind the scene, and this is just one of it. At the end of the day, at the end of this particular turmoil or audio of Victor Osimhen, a lot of persons will learn a valuable lesson, knowing that there are certain lines you don't cross. No matter how pained you are, you definitely understand that you need to have that emotional intelligence to know that this is not what I should say. This is not what you really need somebody right there at your corner, and it's one of those very sad situations for him. At this point, right, he's got just two options, and it's even very good that Osimhen is going through this and he's still wanted by club sides. In some cases, nobody will even look at you.
He's just a good player.
Yes.
That's why.
In some cases, nobody will even look at you. Now, there's an option for him to actually take a pay cut and just settle this thing. Take a pay cut with a clause that if I hit this number of goals, we see club side do it, say, okay, we'll sign this guy with 20 million. If you win a trophy, 10 million pounds add-ons and all of that. You can actually do that. Even
Florian Wirtz still has that
clause, yes. Yeah. If I come to this club and I win the Serie A Golden Boot and we make it to the Champions League, if it's a non-Champions League side and a top club, but for that season they are a non-Champions League side, this is what my wage will rise to. If it's a Champions League side, if we make it to the semi-final and I win top scorer in the UEFA Champions League and the league, then of course my wage will rise to this. It is this thing happen all of the time, so it should not be difficult. You don't have to be stiff. In fact, at this point, Osimhen should really understand that he doesn't even have the bargain chip anymore. He doesn't have it. People are talking about other strikers in his place. That okay, Man United is talking about Gyökeres, Arsenal is talking about Benjamin Sesko, which means there are always options, right? It's not like, okay, yes, you might be the best, but there are options people would obviously step up into. Chelsea are settled for Liam Delap. They've moved on. Nobody's talking about. They're not talking about Osimhen again. So he should understand this complex situation and ask himself how many top clubs are really in the need of strikers, and again, how many top clubs that are in need of strikers are willing to match my wage demand before concluding on where exactly or how exactly he wants his career to actually move at this point. Because the more the transfer window drags, the lesser his value. That's the funny thing about transfer. If he doesn't have this baggage of people talking about him as a hot-headed player, and then we'll be having a conversation of, okay, let the transfer window drag. The club that wants me the most is going to be a bazaar, and of course the wage definitely will even increase to about 100 million pounds. But at this point, he doesn't have it. He should understand his place and then take it. Like they always talk for local palace. Woman we never see trouble. Now in the whole breast run. At this point, Osimhen should understand his place and know what exactly to do.
All right, we understand that even Liverpool is ready to even break the British record, which is just set with Florian Wirtz to get Alexander Isak. Except Newcastle United says they are not willing to sell him. Then Liverpool can now look at other options, because we understand Napoli is discussing with them to get Darwin Núñez, and if that option pops up, we might likely have a situation where Liverpool might want to also look at Osimhen. But I think he needs to go to his prayer room right now and get those who will pray with him and advise him well, because this is not the time for him to go partying and having fun. We're talking about the last chapter of his football career, because he's 27. In 3 years' time, he'll be 30. He'll be preparing for retirement as at that age, except he has the longevity of players like Mohamed Salah, the likes of Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. The only few players, even the likes of De Peru and Co, or Buffon, or even Iker Casillas. These are players who played till 40. And of course, Pepe is still playing currently. So Maiwa, this is a big time. This is the most important part of his football career. If he makes a wrong decision now, I don't know what it will look like. We might even see him playing for Napoli next season from the bench, because even the club is not happy with him. He's not happy with the club. There's no love lost between him and Napoli. And I wouldn't even want him to remain in a club side where he's not happy.
Well, that's the honest truth. He's already 27, and you have one more good contract before you begin to think about retirement. And the thing is Ikechukwu said something that is very, very important. All the top clubs that were looking at him before, they have been settling for people who are not as good as Osimhen. Chelsea has already settled for Liam Delap, meaning that they are considering his wages and other baggages that it comes with, and feel, this is not for us. That is gone. And Arsenal, that is badly in need of a striker, is looking at Sesko, meaning they are not looking at Osimhen. If a Sesko's deal goes through, then that will be the end. A Liverpool that is rumored to be looking at him, they are after Isak, meaning Isak is their number one choice, except Newcastle is not willing to sell. So which other club does he want to go? PSG is out of it. They already have Scarazella, and they've already won, what is missing in their trophy cabinet. So I think his options are beginning to close, his options are beginning to become limited, and this is the time for him to make the right decision. And one of the right decisions he needs to make, this is the time he needs to drop his ego. Yes, he's a fantastic player. Yes, he has the quality to play for a very top club because of what he has done. However, this is the time for him to drop his ego and go for a pay cut. Go for a pay cut. And also, when he's signing the contract, he should also be very careful so that he doesn't go back to the Napoli situation again, that he will sign 5 years. And after 2 years of good performance, he want to go, and there will be a whole lot of, quarrel, there will be a whole lot of fighting and the rest of that. He needs to be very, very, also very careful with the kind of contract he wants to sign. Get the pay cut, sign the contract, include clauses that, we allow him to get more money if a particular milestone is achieved in that particular club. Also, at this age, there's no point signing a 5-year deal. If you can negotiate to get a 3-year deal, I think that would be much more better for him. I just hope he gets, the right team around him, because at the moment, those managing him and those around him, I don't think they can manage him properly, and that's the reason why he's in the situation he's in at the moment.
All right, I believe he even wants to take a pay cut today. Chelsea will come back to the table, and Chelsea is the only club I know that will be willing to give him even a 7-year contract, because has been their modus operandi. Yeah, it definitely looks like a joke, but they are the only club side that can give him 7-6 years contract, because they know as an African player with the strength and so on, he should be able to give them 7 years. Even if he gives them 4 or 5 years, they can still ship him to Saudi League and still cash out. And they have to consider financial fair play. That is why they are giving players that lengthy number of contract of years. And of course, if he takes a pay cut today, or say he can be in the Premier League for the next 7 seasons. And Chelsea signed him for 7-year deal. I think, with all due respect, he can enjoy that lengthy spell at the Blues. And of course, Mikel Obi will be happy with what I'm just saying right now. But let's talk about another Super Eagles winger. Moses Simon will pocket his biggest pay ever after Paris FC and FC Nantes agreed a transfer fee for him. According to reports, newly promoted Paris FC have agreed to pay fellow Ligue 1 club Nantes €7 million for the player, who will be 30 next month. And Moses Simon, it is further understood, will also double his salary by this transfer. He will earn €300,000 a month. Wow. It's only the Saudi League that will give a 30-year-old that kind of money at this time. And according to multiple reports, which is twice what he pocketed at Nantes. And of course, what a big payday for Moses Simon.
Well, I think it's actually his around his quality. I mean, look at 300,000 a month. That's around 75,000 a week, and that's exactly what a player like Moses Simon will be earning, or perhaps even less. So just look at which means they've doubled it. That means he was earning around somewhere around 35, monthly and weekly before in France. So I think it's actually a very good one for a 30-year-old. It's huge, and this particular Paris FC is actually in the league to actually improve themselves. They want to actually cement their place. They don't want to come and go back. And I just hope that they have more money to actually spare, bringing other quality players who has actually been in the league for a long time to actually come in and then improve the squad. Moses Simon is very much in the twilight of his career. Perhaps maybe in another 2 years he might actually be jetting off to Saudi Arabia to actually get the last dose of his money before he finally calls it quits in football. It's a good one for him, and it's a good one also for the Super Eagles, because the best thing and the only thing I want to see is our players continue to actually play in a top league consistently week in week out. For them to actually splash this amount of money in France for a player of who is actually very close to the twilight of career means he's really, really instrumental to their project. And for them to actually also do this, it also means that they already have a very good plan to actually make him one of their star players. And I mean, it simply means that he's going to be very, very consistent. So let's get to see how he's going to actually pan out for him. Perhaps they may be able to punch above their weights this season in the Ligue 1.
All right, so Maiwa Moses Simon takes another big payday to move to another French league side who just joined the top league.
Remember Paris FC and PSG. They have almost similar history like Liverpool and Everton. They were together before and they had to separate and the rest of that. The story is long, small, but in any case, they have the same rivalry, just like Everton and Liverpool. And what makes Paris FC much more interesting is this: the Arnaud family, one of the biggest, richest family in France, they have decided to pump money into Paris FC. So in quotes now, they are paying these players, like politicians that do one or two with money. So they are ready to invest, bring in top players. Moses Simon will get to play with key top players because that is the project they are trying to build. They want to compete with PSG and they want to knock off PSG from Paris. They want to be the king of Paris, and that's the reason why it's a very good move for Moses Simon. Moses Simon will be very, very instrumental in that particular project. I will not be surprised if you have the likes of Moses Simon playing with top key players that Paris FC is able to lure in with money. I think the project they want to build another master-like project, and it's a good one for Moses Simon locking down that kind of contract at that particular age. I'm looking forward to seeing what he will be able to do for Paris FC and how he'll be able to contribute to the overall objective of that particular club. I will not be surprised if Paris FC is competing to win the league next season because of the kind of project they've put in place since.
All right, win the league, that's a tall order. Paris FC ladies also have our own goalkeeper, who I believe is the best female goalkeeper in the world. Talking about Chiamaka Nandioze. And of course, it would be good to have Super Eagles, one of the captains, playing for the male side of Paris FC. And of course, it's been owned by one of the wealthiest families in Europe. And they hope to become one of the top clubs in France before long, and have demonstrated this with a bold move to sign Moses Simon. All right, let's talk about the PFA Young Player Award. Chelsea's new signing Liam Delap and Arsenal's rising star Miles Lewis Kelly among the 6 contenders shortlisted for the PFA Young Player of the Year award. And Delap, who recently moved from Ipswich for £30 million, impressed with 12 Premier League goals despite his former team's relegation. And Lewis Kelly made a notable impact at Arsenal and scored on his debut for England. Other nominees include Ethan Nwaneri, another young Arsenal standout who netted 9 goals last season, and Aston Villa's Morgan Rogers, who tallied 14 goals and 15 assists. Bournemouth's Milos Kerkez is reportedly attracting Liverpool's interest, while former Chelsea defender Dean Huijsen earned a transfer to Real Madrid for his performances, and the winner of the prestigious award will be revealed at a ceremony in Manchester on 19 August. And the list highlights a mix of emerging talent from both domestic and international backgrounds who made strong impressions in the 2024-2025 season. And I'm surprised Ryan Gravenberch is not on this list.
Well, I don't know. Perhaps I don't. Sometimes I look at this list and I wonder how they actually come. I look at the. It's an Arsenal fan that no. I look at the definition of the underage thing. I look at the definition of the underage thing because I look at when they say young player award, is it between the age of say 16 to 19 or 16 to 21? So we really understand the
before you turn 23.
Yes. Yeah. So if that's the case, then of course perhaps maybe the likes of before you turn 23, then Ryan Gravenberch is I think it's around 22. 21. So I mean, it should be part of this particular list. But for me, right, looking at the list, it's simple for me. I'm definitely going with Morgan Rogers any day. That guy did, I would really say he actually played like he's been in the league for like forever.
What about Dean Hoysen?
Dean Hoysen
and Kekes.
Yes, they gave a good account of themselves. But I mean, Rodgers actually was a terror, in England last season. He actually played more like. Sometimes I look at him and say, this guy is way above this particular category. That's how good he was last season. So for me, that's going to be my pick. I mean, for a player who is really not an established player in England, who got about 14 goals, says a lot about his contribution for his team. 15 assists. Come on, I think that's going to be my pick any day, anytime for this particular category.
All right, Maiwa, who is your PFA Young Player of the Year? I don't see Ryan Gerber, so I'm sitting out this one.
Well, to be honest, I'm annoyed on behalf of Gravenberch. I don't know the reason why he's not on the list. I don't know the reason why they didn't even shortlist him. It doesn't make any sense. He should be part of that particular list. He was very instrumental in Liverpool winning the league. However, if I look at the PFA Player Award, I think I'll probably tip Liam Delap to win it. It was very fantastic for, what was the name now? Ipswich, yeah. It was very fantastic for Ipswich last season. And also, apart from the goals he was able to score, he was also very instrumental in providing assists. Also, one thing that impressed me about him is the way he moves. He has the quality of a top striker, and with a little bit of tweaking, I think he will be one of the best in DPL. With the kind of club he's playing at the moment now, I will not be surprised if every season he's able to net at least 15 goals without any stress because of how good he is. So for me, I'll probably tip a Liam Delap to win it because I think his shoulders above every other person nominated on that particular list, owing to the fact that the kind of club he played for and the overall contribution for his pitch last season.
All right, of course, and that's the short list we have there. Though, anyway, take a look at it. 2 Arsenal players on that list. Ethan Nwaneri, I don't know, fair, but he didn't have a long spell season.
I think
he was not really a mainstay player in the Arsenal team.
Yes, I agree with you.
Before Luis Kelly. Luis Kelly was a late bloomer in the league that season. And I share your idea of Morgan Rogers. He sometimes, until when I found out that he's a young that age, I was shocked. I thought it was an OG.
Exactly.
He plays like an OG.
Like an OG.
Who has been there season out, season. Exactly. I just later discovered that he's actually a
very young
player. A lot still. And I'm surprised that a lot of club sides are not making move. Maybe because of his position. He's quite very competitive, but he should be making moves to big club sides. And for the position he plays, to have 14 goals and 15 assists at that age, I think that's quite brilliant. Then if he gets it, fine, fantastic for me. Okay, let's talk about Real Madrid forward. Kylian Mbappe has been admitted to hospital after suffering from gastroenteritis during the Club World Cup. This Spanish club said today, and recorded Mbappe missed Real's opening game at the Club World Cup against Al Hilal, which ended in a 1-1 draw on Wednesday. However, a Real statement said Mbappe has an acute case of, let me not just go into the medical term because he's already giving me issues. I think it has to do with someone who's purging and having, I hope he doesn't have ulcer because that looks more like it. And it's going to be a difficult one if he's having acute case of stomach issues and so on and so forth. Talking about infection, what he has been eating and so on and so forth. But Mbappe is quite a crucial player for Real, and this is not the time for him to be visiting the hospital.
True, and recent reports that he's also going to be missing their second game against Pachula because he's been admitted due to this gastroenteritis. It's really, really sad that he's going through this. I mean, for someone who has actually suffered, stomach ache before, severe one, I really can understand what it feels to be actually in this particular position. I mean, gastrointestinal, anything that has to do with that, region of the body is quite very, very difficult. It's a very serious pain. I will say this, right? One of the most terrible pain you feel is when it comes to your stomach. Because I mean, as a footballer, I mean, all your strength and that's exactly why players go through a lot of stomach exercise, sit up and all of that to actually stay fit. And when you start having issues, complications in your stomach area, it says a lot about how you're going to actually be able to play. And the only thing I can just hope for him is actually for him to come back so soon. I mean, the world is really hoping to actually see him at the biggest stage of what is supposed to be club football competition, which is the Club World Cup at this point. I mean, for players like Kylian Mbappe to actually light up the tournament, it's why a lot of persons actually buying tickets to actually see Real Madrid. But it's so unfortunate, and with the way it's going, I don't think he'll be able to be part of any of these games in this tournament, except something drastic is done, or perhaps the case is not as serious as is widely reported in the media.
All right, so Mayowa's absence definitely is going to be felt. Talking about Real Madrid, but they should have options on the bench to step up.
Well, I think the options that they had yesterday did not step up. They were lackluster yesterday. Alonso was a bit clueless in that first game. Yes, they had a couple of chances, but they couldn't take the chances. Al Hilal was almost shocking them too. But in any case, we can only just hope that Kylian Mbappe recovers quickly. Ikechukwu said something that's very, very important. Anything that has to do with your stomach is a very difficult place to reach. You can't reach it except probably they do an open surgery for you. So it's very difficult to see this kind of things. And I'm just hoping that it doesn't have a long-term effect on his footballing career. He's just getting back into with Real Madrid. I hope this does not hamper the progress he has made so far. To be honest, the Real Madrid I saw yesterday, they need a Kylian Mbappe back in that team if they want to do anything reasonable in the World Cup club. And Real Madrid without Mbappe yesterday looked ordinary, and I just hope that he's able to recover quickly and join them for the last game.
All right. Hopefully he recovers fully. But of course, still talking about the Club World Cup, Jorginho has explained how his former club Chelsea would approach the second game against Flamengo at the FIFA Club World Cup. And on Friday night, Enzo Maresca's side faced Brazilian outfit Flamengo in Group D of the tournament. Jorginho, who's 33, joined Flamengo this summer and made his debut for his new club earlier this week. In addition, former Chelsea defender Felipe Luis is Flamengo's head coach. Maresca has hinted he will rotate at the Club World Cup to take advantage of his deep squad. Jorginho just left Arsenal. What does he have to say about Maresca that he's going to tell the coach of Flamengo that will expose them? I don't know. Anyway, it is what it is.
Players just talk sometimes, and you start wondering, how.
These are mind games.
Mind games, because I mean, I look at Jorginho's time at Chelsea. I look at the midfield people he played with, and I look at the midfield of Chelsea. I mean, there's actually nobody he actually played
never
with.
Met, never crossed paths.
And the manager as well. He never actually had any minutes at some point. Maresca was Man City's assistant coach before he moved to Chelsea. So how is actually going to expose their tactics is still what I'm. Perhaps maybe the only thing I would say is that of course he's played in England, so maybe he's going to tell them how the Chelsea. Englishmen actually approach games like this and all of that. Maybe that's the only thing it's going to be. But on paper or how Chelsea is going to approach, I think he doesn't even have the slightest clue.
All right, Mayowa, it seems like he has taken the mind games artistry from Mikel Arteta and Arsenal down to Brazil, and he's already playing the cards against Chelsea in that game against Flamengo.
Is it saying Flamengo does not have TV to study the tactics of Chelsea?
Perhaps.
Or TV is changed in Brazil. He just wants to talk. He just wants to be in the news. Yeah. I mean, he played in Arsenal. He played in Chelsea a long time ago. Majority of the guys in Chelsea now, they are literally 21, 22, at most maybe 24. And you are 33. You played there very long time ago. What are you going to expose? He didn't even train under Enzo Maresca. I think he just wants to talk for talking's sake. I think he's trying to play mind games. And let's see if the mind games will work. However, the European sides, they've been struggling. The supposed top side, majority of them have been struggling against this so-called lesser side. And probably maybe this mind game are probably playing into the hands of Flamengo. Let's see what Jorginho and the Flamengo guys can do when they play their match on Friday.
All right, so of course, I'm talking about some transfer. We understand that Barcelona have agreed personal terms with Atletico Bilbao winger Nico Williams, but there are still obstacles to overcome before the player gets a switch to join the Catalan club. We understand that Arsenal will also show interest, but from behind the scene, they never showed interest. You know, as Arsenal used to do, they would just give their fans hope that they are going to sign a player. You've not even stepped out of the house. You're already pricing goods and talking about what you're going to buy in the market. But it is what it is. We wish Arsenal fans all the best, and congratulations ahead to Nico Williams. And Mayowa is awesome having you. Maybe the PFA award will be something they will celebrate if one area wins it, because that would be a scam, if you ask me.
Well, Arsenal is the best side to help you discover stars. A whole lot of players that went to bigger clubs were discovered by Arsenal. So they are continuing in that line, and it's going to be another long season for them if they don't change route. Thank you for having me, Jerry.
All right, they will never learn. Ikechukwu, it's been awesome having you. And big thanks to the guys behind the scene talking about the likes of Victor, Alex, as well as Jeremiah. And of course, Ikechukwu is already screaming loud. Even the transfer window cannot hear you. All right. Up next is Political Lens with Chukwuma Okoro. My name is Jerry. Saying thanks for being a part of the show. I want to meet again. Stay safe. And if not anything at all, do it the sport way.